So in this video, we're going to go over the landmarks, meaning the parts of each bone that you need to know. So this is the anterior view again. This is frontal bone. Look, this is the frontal bone. The top part of the skull is removed in this model. So look, this is a frontal bone. In the frontal bone, guys, there are two landmarks you need to know. You need to know this part is called glabella. And these holes, these two foramens, they're called supraorbital foramen. Orbit is the eye. It's above the orbit, so it's called supraorbital foramen. In the maxilla bone, we also have two landmarks. There is a foramen. There is a hole in the bottom. We call it infraorbital foramen, okay? And then you need to know this part where the teeth go in. We call this alveolar process. Superior alveolar process is this, and it's on maxilla bone. Inferior alveolar process is down here, and it's on mandible. Okay? Now, when you look inside the orbit, that's superior orbital fissure, inferior orbital fissure, and then we have optic canal. That's where optic nerve comes out. This is the nerve that allows you to see. Optic nerve function is vision, so that's optic canal. Okay, now we're gonna look on the lateral view. When you look from the side, this was zygomatic bone, right? And this is temporal bone. Look, zygomatic bone, temporal bone. Now, the parts of the bones that stick out, we call them process. Guys, this here, even though it's zygomatic bone, they call this part temporal process. And then this part is called zygomatic process. You need to know both of them. And when you look from the side here, this is the temporal bone. This here is mastoid process. Mastoid process. This one that's sticking out, do you guys see that? This is called styloid process. This here is the opening of the ear. This is the opening of the ear, and we call it external acoustic meatus. Okay? Now I'm going to show you two more views. I'm going to show you superior view first. This is superior view. So look, this bone here is ethmoid bone. Okay? Ethmoid bone has two parts that we need to know. This that looks like a plate, we call it cribriform plate. And then you see this sticky part. Look at it from the side. You guys see that? This part here, we call it crista galli. This is crista galli. Okay, so look, this is a plate. This is a crista galli. Now here, this which looks like a bat, that's our sphenoid bone. In the sphenoid bone, we have this groove. Do you guys see that? This is called sella torsica. Very, very important landmark. What sits here is pituitary gland. For the skeletal system exam, for lecture and lab, you have to know sella torsica is part of sphenoid bone. You also need to know the structure that sits in sella torsica is pituitary gland. Okay? There are a few foramens I want you to know in this view. This foramen that's medial to, what is it called? It's medial to sella torsica. It's called lacerum. And then we have two foramens. Did I say medial? Sorry, lateral to it. L4 lacerum. So when you go lateral to sella torsica, we have lacerum. And then we have two more foramens here. One looks like an oval, one looks like a small circular one. The oval one is foramen ovale, and this one is foramen spinosum. This big foramen that you see down here, that's going to be foramen magnum, and that's where spinal cord, which is the extension of the brain, comes out of the skull. So this is foramen magnum. Now the last view that we're going to look at is going to be the inferior view. That's this bottom view. Look again, this is foramen magnum. Then we have these two bumps on the occiput next to foramen magnum. We call it occipital condyle. This is occipital condyle. Now look here again. We saw 1, 2, 3 foramen. Foramen lacerum, foramen ovale, foramen spinosum. And that's it.